I already gave the women some advice, but they just don't listen to me.
What did you tell them?
To put Peter in a dark room, because speaking to him makes it worse. But most importantly, they should get some vinegar and salt and rub it on the soles of his feet. Then they should mix mallow, linseed, bran, and a pinch of salt and boil it in water. Strain that through a cloth and add a bit of honeycomb as well as a drop of wood oil. Then all they have to do is wash his arse out with it. Finally, they need to cut open a black chicken along its backbone and put it on Peter's forehead. But before that, they'll have to shave his head. Peter is going mad, and this is the only thing that can help him.
Cut open a black chicken and put it on his forehead? Seems to me that you're the one that's going mad.
Trust me, this is the only thing that's going to help him. Simply put, Peter's losing his marbles.
Do you believe in the power of Thunderstones?
Of course. How else could Tomlin beat me but with the stone's help? A Thunderstone is a rare and powerful thing. It's not a matter of belief. That's just the way it is. Just like when you build a cottage or a barn. You put a dead chicken or cock under the threshold to protect against disease and evil forces. You bury a pot with a few groschen and other small treasures in the corner of the room to bring the farm good fortune and protection. And on the roof, it's best to plant common house leek, so lightning doesn't strike the building and set it on fire.
Wise words. When I settle down, I'll remember your advice, and I'll be sure to put house leek on top of my forge.
My husband's gravely ill and nothing's helping. The stone is to heal him.
And what ails your husband?
Peter went to lie down one afternoon and he hasn't budged since. He's not eating, and he's barely talking to anyone. What's worse, soon after he took ill, a Minerva owl perched on the roof one evening.
A Minerva owl? I assume that doesn't bode well, does it?
No, not at all. An owl on your roof means death is closing in. That's why I need the stone. If it weren't for the stone, I'm sure Peter would be gone by now.
What is a Thunderstone?
Well, they're formed when there's a violent storm with forks of lightning and peals of thunder. The biggest of these are Thunderstones. They fall from the sky with a mighty boom and burrow deep into the earth. After a while, they work their way back up to the surface. And if you're lucky, that's where you'll find them.
What does a Thunderstone look like?
Well, from what I saw of Tomlin's, it's the size of a grown man's fist, perhaps a tad bigger, sort of elongated and curiously shaped. It's flat on one side and has a round hole through the middle.
What can these stones do?
Well, lots of things. If you have one, it protects you from all harm, helps you in battle, and brings good luck. It also wards off and cures diseases. And if you put it into the rafters of your cottage, you'll be protected from fire and all manner of other calamities.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you want me to fight Tomlin and win the stone for you?
Well, yeah. And I know I'm asking a lot, but I'm really desperate. And I have no one else to turn to. I prayed fervently to the Virgin Mary and implored her for help. And now you've shown up. Besides, by the looks of you, you have the strength of a bull, perhaps two. So she surely sent you to help me.
Why are you so desperate for this piece of rock?
That's my business.
Look, if I'm to help you, I need to know what you're going to do with this stone. I don't want to get caught up in any witchcraft.
This is no witchcraft. It's just... Fine. Listen, I'm afraid for my child and myself. All my babies died shortly after birth. Bless their souls. And birthing is very hard for me. I nearly died last time. The stone has the power to help me and protect my next infant. That's why I want it.
I'm telling you, that stone's cursed. Weren't you listening to me?
Can you hear yourself? You attacked a band of hardened mercenaries. Anyone else would have paid for that with their life, but not one of you was killed. Not to mention that this Hensel, the one with the stone, wasn't hit by a single arrow. But you were.
Sakura, I never thought of it that way. You know, you might be right.
I'm afraid the stone is unlikely to do him any good. That only brings bad luck.
What? What are you talking about?
You see, because it was stolen, there was a switch in its power. It no longer protects from misfortune. Quite the opposite, in fact. It's cursed. Toying with these things is playing with fire.
I don't believe it. You made that curse up. I'm quite sure the stone will help Peter.
And you know what? I'll share a piece of wisdom my grandmother taught me. She said you need to brew nightshade with twice as much mugwort and a good splash of brandy. That's how to fix a concoction that'll clean you out at both ends and cure all sorts of ills. She used it on me after I gave birth and said it saved my life. So it could come in handy for you too sometime.
I wouldn't do that if I were you. According to Galen, it's not right to give the sick and elderly cold wine. They themselves are cold, so it's better to balance it out with a warm wine. A strong and sweet red that ripened on a sunny southern hillside.
I see you're an expert in medicine as well as wine, Goodman. Galen, you say? Oh, they started bringing out melons, apples, plums, and all sorts of other fruit. And finally, they served fish. I don't eat fish, and fruit makes me burp. So I went hungry at a feast.
I'm sorry you're disappointed, but I think they chose the food well.
Really?
Once again, I have to refer to Galen and his wisdom. Fish and fruit are foods with a cold essence. For that reason, they should all be balanced out with a warm wine, which this exquisite Hungarian surely is, because it's sweet and strong.
Very well. The fish, I can understand. It lives in the water. But fruit ripens in the sun. Why is it considered cold?
Well, it's not so much about the sun. According to Galen, fruit is cold by nature, because blood has never flowed through it.
Oh, thanks for the explanation. I've heard these rules before, but nobody explained them as well as you just did. Oh, forget Galen. I'd still rather have a nice duck patty with my red.
Haha, but of course. The main thing is what suits your palate, Goodman.
Well, that's Hungary checked off the list. What's next?
How about something local? I noticed there were vineyards in Kuttenberg.